Hello and welcome to the Compass Conversations at Butler University podcast, where we talk about meaning and purpose at Butler and beyond. Enjoy the journey.
Compass Conversations is a new podcast series with the Compass Center, formerly known as the Center for Faith and Vocation. In these conversations, I'm going to chat with Butler alumni about their career journeys of meaning-making and fulfilling purpose, highlighting the impactful work they are doing in the world. My name is Julie Diltz, and I'm a Butler alumna and Butler volunteer. I feel most aligned with my purpose when I'm connecting with others, learning new things, and contributing to the thriving of others. For this episode, I have a conversation with Janet Lovera, a 2023 Butler graduate. Janet is a product designer with Multiply Technology in Indianapolis and is a participant in the Orr Fellowship Program, where she serves as the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. We hope you enjoy this Compass conversation. Hi, Janet. Welcome to Compass Conversations. I'm super excited to have the chance to talk to you today. And we're going to talk a little bit about what meaning and purpose look like in your life and how it's evolved since your time at Butler. But first, why don't we have you introduce yourself? Maybe tell us first about what you're doing today professionally, and then maybe just a little more about who you are personally, who your important people are, where you live, that kind of thing.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Janet Lovera. I am a product designer currently at a small tech company called Multiply Technology in downtown Indianapolis. I'm also a current Orr Fellow and the Director of DEI for the Fellow Leadership Team in that program.
Tell us a little bit more about what the Orr Fellowship is for people who aren't familiar.
Yes, of course. So the Orr Fellowship is a 2-year postgraduate program where they partner with companies all around Indianapolis, and you are then given a full-time position at those companies, depending on like who you interview with and who extends an offer to you. So I'm at Multiply Technology. And during those 2 years, you get a lot of opportunities to continue to grow professionally. It's an early career professional program geared towards helping you succeed and giving you those resources to really make your mark in Indianapolis and learn how to do that. So I've really enjoyed it. Community is a big part of that, which has been amazing, and getting to just have people that are going through the same phase of life with you has just really changed how I've seen and grown in the past 2 years. So I've been really thankful to have been in your fellowship for sure.
I love it. I have friends. I mean, the program's been around for a long time. I have friends who went through the program back a little while ago, a few years ago. Well, that's great. Well, let's talk about meaning and purpose. Maybe I'll start with how would you describe your values and your meaning and purpose today?
That's a good question. I would say that currently, just being in my postgraduate, early career life, I really find a lot of meaning and value in continuing to learn and continuing to strive to learn.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of good things that come from being okay, I don't know everything, and just being open-minded even. I actually started as a marketing specialist at Multiply Technology. And so it wasn't my dream job. You know what I mean? It was okay, it's your first job, you're trying to learn and you're giving your all. And then when the opportunity came to really jump into the role that I am in currently, I really advocated for myself, and I was like, hey, I have these skills and I think they're transferable into something that I'm more interested in. Is that something we can do? Is that a conversation? And I think having people who championed me too through that process and really said, hey, I think she would be great in this position, really meant so much to me. And so I think being able to advocate for yourself and being able to advocate for others is something that I feel is a value for me now, because I want to do that same thing for others.
How did you, I don't know, get your, kind of put your head in the right place to move into a role that you knew wasn't your dream role? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I knew going in that I wanted to be a part of the Orr Fellowship. So I had experience in other marketing roles, and I was like, I'm comfortable doing that. I just knew that it wasn't something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So I was like, I purposely said, you know what, I'm going to take this role because I know there's so much I can learn from it. Like, it's not going to be my dream job, but I know that
Yes.
this whole program in general, or like this whole opportunity, was going to help me take a step forward into what I knew would get me to where I wanted to be. And it's like knowing that there's this thing that I've heard a lot during the past 2 years, is like, you can do something for 2 years. You know what I mean? Even if it's
Yes.
not something that you love, you could still just like get through it. And
Yes.
then all of that work is going to get you to that next step in life, to those next areas that you want to go. Like, if you work hard, and I've made it like a personal goal to reach out to people who have similar jobs and similar roles to what I wanted to do. And that's what
Yep.
I've been doing. So like, now that I'm a product designer, I'm like, hey, I don't know everything, so I'd love to learn from other people, that kind of a thing. So
I love your curiosity. That is, and it's not just what I'm hearing. It's not just curiosity, but also openness, which are, similar, but also a little bit different. And I think that those two values are relevant at work. They can also show up in your, personal life. But if you maybe take yourself out of the career context for a second and talk about values or meaning and purpose, kind of expanding that a little bit more broadly, tell us a little bit more about what's important to you.
as you can probably tell, I'm really like go, go, go in terms of like my career.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I would say that, reflecting on the like last 2 years, I will say that I've really learned the value of like family even more, just
Mm-hmm.
because I've been like diving into my career, but there are times when I'm like, I'm so busy. Sometimes I just want to go see my family. And especially,
Yes.
especially because I have younger siblings, all that are under the
Uh-huh.
age of like 12. So it's like,
Mhm.
I want to be there for them. I want to like, I don't want to miss out on these like precious moments of them growing up. So it's like definitely a balance that I'm trying to learn. And I feel like after my time in the Orr Fellowship, I feel like I'll have a little bit more time. But
Yeah.
I am currently being like, I'm reflecting and being like, that is something that I want to put my time into. That is something that I want to get to do more.
Yeah.
And I would say on top of that, I'm like, I just started learning like new hobbies. So
Hmm.
I'm finding value in that too. I'm like,
Yes.
oh, I get really stressed easily. So is what I've been learning about
Yeah.
myself. Like, oh, I like to just sit down and like do a little knitting. I just learned how to knit, which is so fun.
Yes.
And just like getting to pour into myself in that way has been really valuable, because I've started to learn more about myself and being intentional with what I do and what I spend
Yes.
my time doing.
You sound so wise, very wise. And I know you're just a year or two out of school. And so this is a bit of a, maybe a tougher question for you, but it does sound like you've learned some new things even since you graduated. And I'm curious, you've described how you think about your values and what's important to you today. I wonder how you would have articulated that while you were in college at Butler. Do you know, have a sense of how you might have described or answered that question a few years ago?
Yes, I would definitely feel like when I was at Butler, I was a commuter. So I lived at home
Oh,
all, I went home
yeah.
every day. So I saw my family every day. And so for me, during that time, I really valued like, I would say, experiences, like
Uh-huh.
trying to live out like that college life, that college feel, just because I felt like I wasn't getting it all the way.
Yep.
Not living on campus, having to like go home and like even stack my schedule so I could go home because I was tired.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, so I think I definitely valued different things. I valued like sometimes I would stay late just so I could like have those experiences. And I think I
Yeah.
really burnt myself out in that way. I was trying to build community, but it was also during COVID, so there was all of that
Ugh,
and so
yes.
many things to think about.
Yeah.
Now that I'm on the other side, now that I've kind of like really done everything that I wanted to do and I felt like I was missing out on during Butler, um, I definitely think I could have just enjoyed my time with my family more. I think it's really interesting to feel uh like I'm a big girl now. Like I have my job, like I'm self-sufficient, but it's also like
Yes.
sometimes I just really miss that comfort of like coming home to my mom asking me about my day, or like my little
Yes.
siblings telling me about what they did and showing me their arts and crafts, like those types of things. But I didn't
Yes.
value that as much when I was in college, and I sometimes I wish I had like savored those moments more.
Yeah. Oh, it sounds like that you do a nice job of kind of reflecting, which I think is a really important trait. It's part of how we learn and grow is to, be able to look back at choices and time periods and all of that, and kind of think through what went well, what didn't go well, and just an important trait to carry with you into your adult life. I also loved what you said about, I'm circling back just a little bit because I didn't comment on it, but you said you can do anything for 2 years. I'm getting ready to start a new job next week, and I'm really excited about it. I think it's a great fit, but you always sort of wonder, what don't I know, or what didn't I ask, or what didn't I figure out, and is it going to be what I thought it was going to be? A little bit in my mind, I've thought, well, if it doesn't work out, I can make change, right? I can do anything for a little while, but I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, I personally am like, let's just like lean in, let's see how it goes. And then because I reflect so much, I'm like, okay, but how did I really feel those
Yeah.
those first months? And what does that mean for my future? For sure. Yeah.
Yes. I realize it's still kind of a short period of time, but any, major aha moments that helped kind of shift that thinking on your values?
Probably for most of my life, I've been very like shy. I've been very like hesitant to even speak my mind. So even being
Yeah.
here currently, like doing this podcast is like
Yeah.
such a testament to the last 2 years that I've really
Yes.
tried to grow and tried to push myself to do things that make me uncomfortable, because when you're uncomfortable, you know that you're growing, is what I've always heard.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
that's so true. I'd say like my aha moment was so being director of DEI for Orr Fellowship, that was something I was elected to do. So
Oh,
I had to push myself to be
yeah.
like, okay, let me put myself up for like election, let me campaign, and like, well, there wasn't really a campaign, but it was like putting myself out there kind of a thing
Yeah.
for, and I was so nervous, and I was like, oh, do I do it? Do I not? Like, should I go for it? And it was like, I had friends who were also going for the same position, but they were like, Janet, just go for it. Like, you don't know, like, we're all in this together. We're all going to work together anyways. So let's just,
Yes.
like, even election day when everyone was voting, I genuinely thought I wasn't going to get it. And I was like, that's okay. Like everything happens
Yeah.
for a reason, is what I've always told myself. Um, I was mid-bite into a cookie that I had saved for after I was done speaking because I was so nervous. So I was mid-bite sitting down, and then they announced my name, and I was like, oh, nobody look at me right now, even though everyone turned to look at me. And it was
Yeah.
just one of those moments where I was like, okay, so people see like the leader in me, like the leadership qualities that I
Yes.
have, like they believe that I can do this. And so that for me really helped instill like confidence, but
Yeah.
also just the whole experience of being a director and getting to manage a team has helped me also gain that confidence.
Tell me a little bit more about what your responsibilities are as the DEI director for the Orr Fellowship.
Yeah, so I'm on the fellowship leadership team. So all of us are elected.
Yeah.
And what we do is we're really the people that are in charge of hosting events, creating events. I mean, specifically for as director of DEI, I help with our recruitment process a
Yeah.
lot, ensuring that there's like we're trained for implicit biases. We're helping everyone get the same resources so that they're all equipped throughout the process,
Yeah.
whether we're the ones recruiting or we're talking to candidates to make sure they have the right resources as
Yeah.
well, making sure that when we're recruiting, we're touching all parts of campus life. So there's not a corner unturned, like a stone unturned, or a group of people that we haven't considered, and that we're
Yeah.
able to like um, holistically see a person as themselves and like understand people go through different things throughout college, and we keep those
Yeah.
in mind.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of that work during recruitment season, but it's
Yeah.
also helping people get exposed to like new things or experiences. One of my favorite things that we did, like we do this every month, it's called Issues at the Core. And so we just kind of come together eat a meal together and then talk about different topics that are affecting us and how do we feel about them. Like this last Tuesday, we were talking about defining success for you. So what does that
Yes.
look like for
Yeah.
you? How has that changed since you graduated college? Those kind of like conversations that I feel like really help us reflect and then learn from one another, even like our own experiences, which is really fun.
What a great program.
Yeah. I really
Very.
enjoyed my time and I genuinely feel like I've learned so much and grown so much as a person.
I'm thrilled that you have a cohort to have those conversations with. You'll have those conversations for the rest of your career, and you'll have that to sort of go back to help you think through choices and opportunities in front of you. So I think that's really great. I'm curious whether you have any like practices or habits or rituals that help you keep your values front and center. I mean, I heard you say that it's easy for you to get stressed, and I heard you talk about having a hard work ethic. So, are there things you do to make sure that you're living your values and not letting kind of the career and the busyness and the stress kind of divert you away from what's at your core most important?
Yeah, I would say that in terms of like what keeps me grounded, I I have like intentional like playlists of like music
Yeah.
where I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I need to take a step back. I need
Yeah.
to kind of lean into away from all of like the stress and the busyness. And there's like certain lyrics and songs that really bring me back. Like sometimes I'm on my drive to work and I'm like, I hear a certain lyric and I'm like, wow, let me just take a moment to be like,
Yes.
that's so meaningful. Because to me, like music is poetry, music is like healing in a way to,
Yes.
so it's like okay, even when I'm going through like a really hard time, there's certain songs that really bring me back and say like, hey, this is just a phase. There's a lot of times when I'm saying, hey, it's only going to be like this for 3 months. Like I can get through 3 months of hardship, you know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yes.
In a similar vein to like you can do anything for 2 years kind of a thing, but
Yeah.
that just really helped me get through those like waves of life. uh,
Yes.
and even like there are songs that I remember hearing for the first time with like my older sister, or songs that like my younger siblings would always like play when I would drop them off to school.
Hmm.
I think about that so much, and like it just really brings me back to family. Uh
Yes.
and it's just all really wonderful to like have those moments where I could just remember those things.
Yeah, I love that. I have a playlist on Spotify called Music That Speaks to My Heart. Like when something really grabs me, I stick it in there. So that resonates with me a lot.
Oh, I love that. I kind of want to do that. That's a great like title for a playlist.
Right? Right?
Yeah. I have to do that.
Very good. Well, you might have to share one of yours with me so I can grab your songs. What about like the needs out there in the world too? Like how do you think about where to invest your time, and kind of how to balance, what's right in front of you versus, needs that feel a little bit further away, but still needs, like how do you think about where to contribute from a service perspective?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's something that I thought about, and I feel like I did a lot more volunteering when I was younger than I do now.
Hmm.
Um, and sometimes I go back and forth because I'm like, I can pour my time into like helping others in that way. Growing up, my mom always told me like, yes, you can go volunteer, but there's so many things you need to do in within the family first, kind of a thing.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
you know what I mean? And
I
so for me,
do.
like it's like I want to, but then I'm like, first I need to pour into my family before
Yeah.
I go pour into other people. Or like I need to make sure that I'm in a good place first before I go and serve others. Do I want to be more intentional? Yes. But I don't think I'm there yet
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're very clear. I mean, there was a book I read called Life Worth Living, and one of the questions it asks is, who are you accountable to? And for me, I kind of had that realization that, well, my family is my like my immediate family, my husband and my kids are that inner, I'm most accountable to them. And then there's, my parents and my siblings. And then you kind of, go out. I think of it in rings.
I like that.
And I feel like I can't, like, the needs of the world speak to me deeply. My heart is moved,
Yeah.
but I feel like I can't pour out if it takes away from a group that's, more in the center of the circle. And it feels like you've just said the exact same thing with great wisdom at a much younger age. We only have so much time. So knowing what's most important and that your family kind of comes first, and prioritizing yourself as well, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that at all.
I appreciate that, because sometimes I'm like, yes, I want to go out and like change the world, but then it's like there's a lot going on, and
Yeah.
I genuinely just don't want to miss out on those years of like early growth and like early memories with my younger siblings.
Yes, right.
Mhm.
What haven't I asked you about that you might want to share? Something that you've learned in your, a couple of years since you graduated, or something about your experience at Butler that you want to share? Anything that I haven't touched on yet?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, reflecting back at my time at Butler, I feel like I did a lot, but I didn't dive as deep into the connections that I made there. And I feel like sometimes I wish I had. I think I've learned that skill since then, but I wish
Yeah.
I had how to like just really lean in and even like let my guard down and let my walls down to really let people in. That was something I wish I could have done more. Uh I know I did give it my all. I know I
Yeah.
did try my best to like do everything, but yeah, that's something I would say I reflect on a lot.
What do you do differently today at work as a result of that kind of reflection and learning from your time at Butler?
I initiate a lot more conversations. Like
Yeah.
I'm comfortable in the silence, but sometimes
Yeah.
uh breaking that silence means creating a deeper connection with someone. It leads to
Yeah.
that connection because they might feel like you don't want to talk to them or like that you just don't have a connection, but once I've decided to just not think so much about it, not be so hesitant, I've really grown to learn more about people and even like learn more about themselves. And you learn so much from other people and talking to them and hearing about their
Yes.
experiences. I'm the youngest person at my job, at my company. So it's just really interesting to hear like everyone's life story, hear how
Yeah.
they got to where they are now. Like I've really enjoyed listening to that, and getting to know them. But even like in my community at within the Orr Fellowship, um, I know I wouldn't have the connections and the friendships and the memories that I do now if I hadn't leaned into it. If I hadn't been
Yes.
like, yes, I'm scared, because I was scared when I started Butler at Butler.
Yeah.
But I was too scared to really try to like leave the comfort of the small groups that I knew or like the people that I knew immediately. And having done that now, post Butler, has really just expanded my connections and who I know. And even like when I reach out to or fellowship like alumni, that's a risk that I'm taking. I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, I just kind of want to talk to you. I know this
Yes.
connection.
Yes.
Would love to learn more from you. And it's just being intentional about that has
Yeah.
really changed my perspective for sure.
Awesome. Okay, one maybe final question. What's a go-to resource that has helped you better understand what matters to you? Is there a book, a TED Talk? Maybe it's you touched on music. Anything that you want to recommend to our listeners?
I'm intentional about what I continue to read because it's like,
Yes.
what is my current interest? Like, oh, I want to lean more into like my roots. So like
Yeah.
I'm Mexican, so I'll like read some more like uh history or articles about like Mexico because like I didn't grow up there, but I
Yep.
sometimes I really just want to learn the history, or sometimes I want to like push myself to memorize all the states because it's not something that I grew up doing. And so I think in terms of a value, that's something that I really value because I feel like it helps me remember that um I am like a person, but there are like so many other people. Like we live in a community and that's
Yeah.
beautiful. And like just thinking about like my place in the community, it helps put things into perspective, I feel
Into
like.
perspective. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love your curiosity. Have you done strength finders before?
I have, yes.
Is
I
learner one of your top five?
Um, actually, it's like it's harmony,
Yeah.
empathy. I think collaboration is one.
Ah,
I
okay.
can't remember the other two, but those are like
Yeah.
the three top ones. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I think that's such a great tool for learning a little bit about yourself. I mean, I don't, you know, I don't think that those are always, you don't have to label yourself and take it at
right.
right 100%, put yourself in a box because of the
Yeah,
results. But I think that you can gain insights. But learner is one of my top five, and am a kind of a voracious reader. I go down rabbit holes on the internet.
yeah,
um, you know, I'm not satisfied if I don't dive a little deeper into something that piques my interest. So that just felt similar and familiar. I feel a connection with you because of that, Janet.
yeah.
Well, very good. It has been delightful to talk to you. I really appreciate your openness. It takes a little bit of courage to kind of put yourself out there and share some of yourself. And I love how much you've learned and grown already in your couple of years out of school. And I think that, getting to hear about that will be helpful for some of our listeners. And I appreciate that you were willing to share it.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been a wonderful experience, and I feel like this is one of those things that I'll definitely reflect on later
Yeah,
down and
good.
be like, yeah, what can I
Very
learn?
good. All right.
Yeah,
Thanks, Janet.
yeah, thank you.